Hello, everybody. So today I want to talk about the Black Swan, the unfortunate events we've had over the weekend that are impacting stocks today. And I'm obviously talking about the event on the Middle East. I'm deeply sorry about what is happening. That is, very very troubling and very sad. But unfortunately, it's hurting the stock market. And in this channel, I comment on the stock market. But independent of that, before I begin my comment on the stock market, I just want to say I'm deeply sorry for what is happening. And Twitter, Twitter. There's a lot of good things on Twitter, but also, it's tough. It's just not enjoyable to think that you would be getting drops in stock market because of this, but it's the nature of a Black Swan event, and that is what is happening. I did not predict this. Nobody could have predicted another conflict in the Middle East, but we may have another conflict in the Middle East. And I think maybe insiders, maybe if you live in the Middle East, you could have predicted that. But I live in the U.S. It's like this is not something we're exposed to at all in the U.S. And so they're definitely hurting stocks. These tensions are definitely hurting stocks. But independent of that, I wish none of this was happening. I wish there was peace. But independent of that, we have to assess the impact on our stocks because I have exposure to Israeli stocks. And I think many of us who invest in innovation have exposure to Israeli stocks. My biggest exposure to Israeli stocks is SolarEdge. If you look at SolarEdge, this is very striking, right? You have SolarEdge, and then you have Enphase. So Enphase, as I record this video, took this screenshot, 30 minutes ago, Enphase barely impacted, right? There's nothing going on. And keep in mind, these companies are essentially very similar companies. They're direct competitors. And SolarEdge, minus 5%. And I know there was a downgrade, but there's no way this was a downgrade. You'll see why, because every single stock headquartered in Israel is down about 5%. So this is not due to the downgrade that SolarEdge got today. So minus 5% and 0%. And so this is where, if you know about the Middle East, if you can do the research, if you can understand deeply what is happening, one may be able to see the drop in Israeli stocks as a clear opportunity. Now, I'm not going to do this research, and I'm not going to form an opinion as to whether the risk of tension in the Middle East is real for these companies or not. This is research I would do if we had, say, a 20% delta between an Israeli trading stock and a U.S. trading stock. This is the kind of difference that I would do, but the kind of research that I would do. Like, I would need more of a drop to warrant doing that research and taking that risk, knowing that I'm not an expert. But the conflict is clearly having an impact on stock price movements. I think what may happen is that we may see now geopolitical risk, or we may see stocks in Israel trading at a discount as long as this conflict lasts, and nobody really knows how long this conflict is going to last. But when I see the narratives, it seems like there is going to be some level of war. So this is very unfortunate. And we know there's geopolitical risk. For example, with TSMC, for example, a lot of people say, "Oh, don't invest in TSMC because of a geopolitical risk with China." Well, are we going to see something very similar with the narratives for Israeli stocks? Is there going to be something similar with that? Maybe. Here's another one is if you look at all of the Israeli stocks versus all of the U.S. innovation stocks, keep in mind this is not an entirely fair comparison because the ARK-K ETF is actively managed, and this is an index. And so if you were to take an index type innovation, you'd see the drop is actually even less. But we see again that stark difference between minus 5% for stocks in innovation trading in Israel, and if you're trading outside, market is a little down today, but not that much. So this is true when you look at a basket of stocks, and this impacts us as innovation investors, as hyper growth investors, because I don't know if you knew this, but a lot of innovation stocks I mean, compared to the size of the country of Israel, which is relatively, compared to the U.S., it's a small country in size. It's got actually a lot of very large numbers of innovations coming out of there. This is actually a very popular book. I don't know if you've read this book, but talking about how they did it, and a lot of people are trying to emulate and replicate this idea of creating an environment where startups can emerge. But Israel clearly created an environment like that. You'd be surprised to hear that it's not just SolarEdge. It's big companies like Monday.com or Pagaya or Checkpoint. These are big companies, highly innovative companies that are headquartered in Israel. And so is SolarEdge, right? SolarEdge is in the S&P 500. Right, Wix.com. I mean, that's a well-known website. SimilarWeb, Fiverr. These are innovative companies. So we may see a discount in these stocks. And again, I wish we didn't see it, but it's just the nature of what's happening. Here's another thing that may happen because of Middle East tensions and conflict. Is you can see oil is up 4%, and oil is probably going to keep going up. If this lasts multiple days, this is going to keep going up. What if this lasts for months? Well, it's going to keep going up. Tensions in the Middle East historically have made oil rise in prices. And so again, there's macro level consequences. Expensive oil is a double-edged sword. It tends to be over the long run, it tends to be good for solar and electric cars because people want to switch to solar and electric and entirely decouple themselves, right? Remove that correlation that they have with oil prices. Well, you do that. If you produce solar energy on your roof and you charge your car with your roof, you're independent of this, right? This is not the supply chain that impacts you anymore. You're entirely independent of this. But you're also a little dependent on this because the cost of crude oil impacts the state of the consumer, impacts the state of economy, and in turn impacts the Fed's decision and the cost of money. So overall, I would argue expensive oil is a negative in the short run, but a positive in the long run for companies like solar companies, photovoltaic companies, and electric car companies. And so, double-edged sword right here. So, anyways, this is an entertainment-only video, and I'm not telling you. I can't know what's going to happen, but I've been investing for a while now, and there's general feelings that I see. It's patterns. You recognize those patterns. So first of all, one pattern that I have to say is that, a lot of good stocks are headquartered in Israel. Most of these stocks do most of their business outside of Israel, and thus the business may not be impacted that much. They do business outside of Israel. I also know, in general, the news tends to trigger many overreactions from fund managers, from money managers, from algorithms. Sometimes there's like overreactions that lead to across the board selling, right? And right now, this drop is not enough for me to justify adding innovation stocks solely because they are based in Israel. But the drop, in my view, right now seems a little unwarranted, given the fact that, yes, most of the business is outside of Israel. It seems very news-driven. And that's just a feeling. It's entertainment. I'm telling you here, it's entertainment. If it were to drop more, and I think 20% would be a number that would get me to consider perhaps buying stocks in Israel only because they are down, right? And if that were the case, right, if these drops were to continue, one of the things that I would look at that are unknowns to me right now that I done researched is can you have your executives of these companies or employees, not just executives. You could have really good engineers, really good marketers. Could these executives be mobilized in the conflict? Well, then that could potentially hurt the business. And then the headquarters, where is the headquarters of these companies? Like I was looking the SolarEdge headquarters, which is my bigger position. It seems to be it seems to be relatively far away from when the conflict from where the conflict is happening. But I'm not an expert in war, and I'm not an expert in any of these strategies. So again, I don't know. So I would do this research if this fall in Israeli stocks continues, but I hope it won't, and I hope peace prevails. So, anyways, I hope this was helpful. I appreciate your likes, appreciate your subscribes. This was not investment advice. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.